third section of Era Constitution, I'm titling with 3 words: balance, equity, and choice. And from the Anishinaabe teaching, it comes from 2 bones in the pike's head that look like birds. So together they make the one constitution piece. The crow and the seagull representing black and white. They're both present and they both need to be acknowledged, and that there's an equality there, but there's also a choice, implicit, like a choice between good and evil. And there's some sense of justice through how those choices get made. Now, for Era Constitution, balance, equity, choice. The idea that we live on a finite world and there has to be a balance between humans and all the rest of life. And it has to be an equitable balance so that all may thrive and flourish. And balance between generations, in terms of our present generation and future generations. Do we want to eat the whole cake now so the future generations have nothing? Do we want to completely deplete the natural environment? Or do we want to live our lives in balance with what is sustainable? There's an equality amongst it all, and there's a balance, nature's balance. There's an equality amongst individuals, be they individual species, individual cells, individual genes, be they individual, organisms, individuals, or individual species, individual ecosystems. So there you have the idea of biodiversity, which is a great equality of a web of life. Everything's interrelated, everything's interdependent. Biodiversity itself is the ultimate equalizer of from individuals to the collective, because it goes from genetics right up to ecosystems to the whole biosphere and the diversity of it all. And there's an equality within that because everything's interdependent. And then amongst humans, this can be applied to our social evolution and our social organization and the history of humans and the diversity of cultures. And no one is greater than the other. And there's teachings and there's knowledge and there's traditions and there's ingenuity and ways to live a good life expressed by all cultures. So this is part of equality as well, and that's part of Era, that all the best ideas, all the best knowledge to be applied, and the effort to not have to reinvent the wheel is thanks to our past and history and human inventiveness and traditions and the diversity of cultures that have evolved so many ways of doing things. So choice, we have choices amongst all this. And what is our vision and what's our belief before that? The idea that there's an equality and a balance in how we structure ourselves. So choice, good and evil, black and white. Perhaps we can say dark choices are those that don't favor life. They don't favor the flourishing of life. They don't consider the impacts on the natural world and our own survivability and those of our progeny, our future generations. So choices that deal with natural truths and rather than human-made truths, that choices that consider natural limits and where we've overstepped, we need to come back into balance. So the balance is between all living beings, all relations, and that implies humans and the rest of the natural world. Equality of rights and notions of justice within that, of individuals to have the liberty to make choices, informed choices. So that's where education and freedom come in. Those are other sections of the Constitution. So that means being educated so that when there's a choice, one can be informed. Is one making a good choice or a bad choice? By one's own frame of reference, by one's own moral compass, and one's own set of ethical standards that one chooses to lead their life by. So the choice between individual and collective well-being, choice between altruism and selfishness, of action and apathy, of greed and generosity, of hate and love. So if everything's chosen from love, the world becomes a very different place. And it's up to individuals and up to the collective, of course. And every choice matters, every action matters, every individual matters. If we have an agreement of the common purpose, and that guides us in our choices, then we're better able to seek an equality of existence and a balance of being in harmony with ecology, where humans and the rest of the community of life are all thriving and flourishing. Are we going to continue with systems that necessitate choosing to participate in the destruction of nature and the degrading of our survivability in the future? Or our choice is going to be made to favor the thriving and flourishing of humans, interconnected with the rest of the community of life? Eco-responsibility behooves us to make the choices that favor thriving and flourishing, and not making choices that exacerbate suffering and destruction.